Welcome to Puvanur RBIR Laya Academy of Music and Mathematics. Welcome to Puvanur RBIR Laya Academy of Music and Mathematics. We are going through Sangeerna Jathi Triputa Thalam, 13-beat cycle Thalam. I will begin this class with a Tirukkural and then we will move forward. Last class we saw Tadindina sequence. In various perspectives how we can go about doing in a 9 plus 4, 1 lagu and 2 dhrutams, the structure, Sangeerna Jathi Triputa Thalam, 13-beat cycle. The first sequence we saw in 6 or 7 different forms, how to go about it. Hope you had the idea of how to go about it and have an independent review later with all of you, how we can actually go and play when you get this challenging thala, when you have to showcase it. Today, I am going to start off with Dhimi Dhimi Taka Dhimi Dhimi Taka. The base is the Taka Dhimi Dhimi Taka in Adi Thalam. I'll go with that sequence and also Taka Dhimi Tata Dhimi sequence. Both these sequences we will deal at length and see the perspectives how we can go about doing it. As I told you, this is only an example of a 35 thala. This is one of the rare thala. Not many people will sing in this thala, but it will be handy to understand when you want to further explore this 35 thalas. Using these ideas, you can go about exploring several other thalas which is there in 35 thalas. Especially when people are going to sing Ragam Thanam Pallavi, they can compose a phrase in 13 beats and they can sing. At that point of time, if you want to showcase a specific pattern, you can use this, and that's the reason why this creativity door is open to you. So let me begin this class with the Tirukkural and I will proceed on looking at the perspectives further. Pagacholli Kelir Piripar Nagacholli Netpadal Tetradavar. What is the meaning of it? Pirar Magurumaru Inbamaha Pesi Avarodu Natpu Seidale Ariadavargal Nanbara Irupavarai Patrium Puram Kuri Pirinduvar. What does Tiruvallur say here? You should always make others happy when you are surrounded with people. If you are not aware of making others happy, even your friends whom you think as friends will leave in a while because of your nature. Unknowingly, without your knowledge, you will lose your friends. So the rule of thumb is we should not talk something ill about somebody's back. So we have to ensure that we talk right, and if at all, if we have any clarity, we have to talk straight and sort it out. That's what Tiruvallur states. And the importance of not to talk ill about others. That's the key message here. So I'll get into the class. We will see Taka Dhimi Dhimi Taka, how we can deal it in a different perspective. So as I told you, we have to first of all look at the structure and see how we can first dissect it and see which thala is closer to that, and you can start playing. In 13 is a bigger number. So the first cut I would go and will slice it as a 5. Then you slice a 5 because that's the base thala you learned. 8 you have got, and then you can actually beautifully do that particular thing. I will also give different perspective to you, and if you want to do Rupaka Thalam within this Tisra Jathi, Sangeerna Jathi, Triputa Thalam, you can take a 9 because Rupakam is a 3-beat cycle. 3 into 3 is 9. So if you slice after the 4, you can take the 9 later and you can play a perfect Rupaka Thalam. So that's another way of doing it. Again, if you want to take a Rupaka Thalam and Misra Chapa Thalam combination, which is again a 13, I'm giving you different ideas here. You can try and explore because these are all research-oriented subjects. I wanted you to deal with it at a later point of time, how these combinations are going to work wonders for you. Rupaka Thalam twice is 3 plus 3 is 6 beats. And the later is 7 beats. So 6 plus 7 is 13. It's a rugged structure again. So you're making with a 6 and a 7 a 13 cycle. You can think about it. Din kittu taka din din na, din din tata din din na, tat din na, tat din din na, tat din na. On the spot, we thought about a pattern and then we tried to embellish it using a phrase, and you can use it for multiple phrases you have learnt. That's the biggest idea and biggest blessing whatever Carnatic music has. Though it's only 13, there is no set pattern to play at 13. You can formulate in a particular progression and then start attacking or approaching that thala in a new dimension. Also, to give an example, normally typically when people talk about Adi Thala, tad din din na, taka din din na, din din na, that is the way people approach. But why not we think differently? I will say 1.5 to 2.5. What does it add up to? 1.5 plus 2 is 3.5. 3.5 plus 2.5 is 6. And 6 and then the phrase 2. You can deal Adi Thala in a completely different dimension of 1.5 to 2.5 and a phrase. Tad din na, tad din din na, din kitataka din na, you can absolutely deal with it like that. Similarly, even a Rupaka Thala, the base Thala, you can make it as a combination, you can make it as a multiple of 3 plus 3 plus 3, 9, and then look at how you can actually divide a 4 and a 5, a 9 can be broken up, and these are all the creative ways of building dimensions into this Thala. These are all the creativity doors. I'm just giving you a few samples here so that you can try at a later point of time, because at some class I want to table this creativity idea into you, where by using those ideas you can form your own patterns, you can form your own sequences, you can form your own progressions. That's the biggest learning or takeaway you're going to get out of this class. Now, having said that, let's approach with a vanilla form. First learn the basic way, then I'll give the perspective of taka dimi dimi taka in different forms, and I want you to try all these to enrich your knowledge. So the first 5 slices can be taka dimi dimi taka, dimi dimi taka, dimi dimi taka. That's the first part. So normally you slice a 5 and then you have to ensure there is a landing, because when you take a reverse, dimi dimi taka, dimi dimi taka, taka dimi dimi taka, there is no landing, because again you are going to start with taka dimi dimi taka. So you will be confused how many times I played taka dimi dimi taka. So the slice, the demarcation should be in such a way that you give a different pattern and land into that particular area, and from there you play the phrase. So the ideal form is taka dimi dimi taka, dimi dimi taka, dimi dimi taka, ta dimi dimi taka, taka dimi dimi taka, dimi dimi taka taka, tagudugu 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 taka, dimi dimi taka, dimi dimi taka, dimi dimi taka, ta dimi dimi taka taka, dimi dimi taka, dimi dimi taka, tagudugu 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 tagudugu, dimi dimi taka, dimi 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 taka, dimi dimi taka, ta dimi dimi taka taka, dimi dimi taka, dimi dimi taka, tagudugu 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 taka, dimi dimi taka, dimi dimi taka, dimi dimi taka, ta dimi dimi taka, tagudugu 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 ta, dimi dimi taka, tagudugu 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 tam. Tagudugu 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 tam. So when you're going and approaching, it should be seamless integration of a mora you're going to play. Nobody will be knowing, but the sequence progresses, suddenly you're landing into your finish. This is one of its forms. So let me show the demonstration of this, how to play, and then I'll give the perspective into it. This is how, one of the way you can play this by slicing after a 5, doing Adi Thalam pattern, doing a traditional reduction, and then playing a mora. Now let's look at the perspective now. The perspective window opens. Now since it's a 9 plus 4, you can take a 3 units, 3 units makes it 9. Dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi tata dimmi taka dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka. That is Sangeerna Jathi. Perfectly you land into this 9 perfectly. And then 4 is Adi Thala's half of it. Taka dimmi dimmi taka taka tagudigu tagudigu tagudigu. Beautifully, the first half you can 9 units, you break it into 3 units, and then taka dhimi dhimi taka taka tagudigu tagudigu tagudigu. So how we can play? Dim dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi tata dimmi dimmi taka din dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka tagudigu 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 dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi tam tam dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka tagudigu 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 dimmi dimmi tagudigu 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 dimmi dimmi tagudigu 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 dimmi dimmi tagudigu 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 tagudigu. So this is another perspective of playing taka dimmi dimmi taka using a units of 3 plus 3 plus 3, and then playing the phrases later like Adi Thalam. You can do these lessons. Another beauty here is, as I told you, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, a combination which reaches you. 2 plus 2.5 is 4.5, 4.5 plus 3 is 7.5, 7.5 plus 3.5 is 11. So up to 11 you are progressing, and the last two beats you are playing a phrase. Taka dimmi taka taka dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka dimmi tak dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka taka tagudigu 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 ta. This is one way of playing. Taka dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka ta dimmi taka taka dimmi dimmi taka tagudigu 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 ta. This is another progression. So you can use also 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3. Where does it come to? 1.5 plus 2 is 3.5. 3.5 plus 2.5 is 6. 6 plus 3 is 9. So up to 9 you can play that phrase. Taka dimmi dimmi taka taka tagudigu tagudigu. You can use that progression. You can play Sangeerna Jathi Triputa Thalam. You can use 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5. 11 plus the phrase. You can play Sangeerna Jathi Triputa Thalam. Reverse it, 3.5, 3, 2.5, 2, and then the phrase. Using those sequences you can reduce and play a Sangeerna Jathi Triputa Thalam. Then the outer join. I told you 3.5 plus 2, 5.5. 2.5 plus 3 again 5.5. 5.5 is 11. How do we do? Ta dimmi taka taka dimmi dimmi taka taka dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka dimmi dimmi taka dimmi taka tagudigu 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 ta. This requires a lot of mental concentration for you to do all these things, because it is like a flower. It's like a beautiful nesting you're trying to do and then trying to come out with the pattern. So, if you look tak, dimi, dimi, taka sequence, what all we did, we sliced at 5, we had a 8. 5 plus 8 combination, taka, dimi, dimi, taka, dimi, dimi, taka, dimi, dimi, taka. And after that is Adi Thalam. And then you try to reduce and finish. Pattern 1. Pattern 2, 3 units. Dimi, dimi, taka, dimi, dimi, taka, dimi, dimi, tham, tham, dimi, dimi, taka, dimi, dimi, taka, dimi, dimi, taka, dimi, dimi, taka, taka, tagudigu, tagudigu, tagudigu. Using this sequence, you can do the entire lesson. Whatever is there in the sequence, you can do it. The next one, we tried 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5. 1, 2 is taka, dimi, dimi, taka, taka, dimi, dimi, taka is 2. 2.5, dimi, dimi, taka, dimi, taka. That is 2.5. Dimi, dimi, taka, dimi, dimi, taka. Dimi, dimi, taka, dimi, dimi, taka. That's 3. Ta, dimi, taka, taka, dimi, dimi, taka. That's 3.5. These are all the components which gets twined for 11. 2, 2.5, 3 and 3.5 gets twined into it like a garland, and that makes you this beautiful sequence of 11. The reverse garland is 3.5, 3, 2.5 and a 2, and then you make another garland. Another garland you can make is 1.5, 2, 2.5 and a 3, which makes it to 9 beats. 9 plus 4, you can still make a 13 garland. Again, you repeat 3, 2.5, 2 and 1.5, and then you play the 4 pattern, taka, dimi, dimi, taka, tagudigu, tagudigu, tagudigu. That also is another variety. And also you can do the outer joints from 1.5 to 3 progressive sequence, and also from 2 to 3.5 progressive sequence. You can connect the last 2 parts and the middle 2 parts and then make a sequence out of it. So see how many patterns are coming out of it. That's the beauty of Laya. That is the beauty of the reason why I've named my academy as Music and Mathematics. This mathematics is brilliantly getting into the musical form, Nadamayam. And that's why it's perfect to have Laya, music and maths integrated well. So I want you to try all these perspectives in this sequence and come for the next class. I'm going to, in the next class, I'm going to handle Taka Dhimi Tatha Dhimi. We will see how to go about it, because the beautiful sequence. I'll also give you the perspective and the theoretical idea. Tadhimi, taka, tadhimi, taka, tadhimi, thangirdaga. How all you can interlude it. I'm always having the bass as Adi Thalam. The reason is that is one of the mastery Thalam. That's the bass, the fundamental bass. And you need to interlude that Adi Thalam wherever possible, in whatever form, that will come in handy. Always insist that you know the bass. And once when you know the bass, you can play around it. We will see how we can beautifully intertwine with the gaps and the pauses and the progressions, how we can go about doing this 2 sequences. I'll show you, throw you the perspectives. I'll give you a few demos. I'm not focusing more on how you want to play. This is more a technical thala, where you need to understand the perspectives. That's important for you. Or you keep practicing a Adi Thalam, you keep practicing a Rupaka Thalam, Ganda Chapa Thalam, Misra Chapa Thalam. These are all the essentials. The idea of 35 Thala is a different level. You are in an advanced level. I'm trying to create you an opening of ideas, gamut of ideas, and that should be in your kitty, which you can use in the easier Thalams. I'll end this class with Tirukkural. And then I'll see you in the next class with Takadimi Tatadimi and Tadhimi Takatadimi. Both will cover in the next class. Tunniyar Kutramum Tutrum Marabinar Yennai Kul Yedigilar Matu Tamod Niringia Sutratara the Kutratium Avare Kana the Idatu Tutrum Yelbine Udever Ayala Redati Yadudan Sayar. What does it say? Whomsoever is your relative, okay, if you are going to talk even ill about them, then what God is, the true Lord is comparing a person, what will not he do in front of the third party? So you should actually not open your Pandora box. You should not wash your dirty linen in public. That's a very bad habit. That's what Thirulvar says. Puram kurvar, talking ill about others is so very dangerous. It's a very, very bad characteristic. That's what Thirulvar says. And he says, and at the back, not only about friends or your society, you also talk ill about your own relatives when they are at the back, and that's not a good sign. That's what Thirulvar says and compares. And then it is a nature for human being to talk about it, and I know it's all everybody realizes and everybody knows about it. And then once when we learn with these sort of wisdom people, we should try it, as I normally say, we should only reduce the percentage from where we are. We may be at 80% of a bad quality, or maybe 80% at a good quality. Okay, when it's good quality, we have to go up. When it is bad quality, I think we should come down the ladder. I think that is what we all need to work. We are all combination of percentages, like a body. Like if when you take a test, I think it has so many parameters. And it is up and it is down. One is good, thyroid is good, or your blood count is good, your BP is low, your pulse is higher. All these are different parameters. Why I'm comparing is every individual is different, and that's what Thirulvar says. With this good thought, I'm signing off this class, and I'll see you in the next class with more perspective of Sangeerna Jathi Triputa Thala on sequences Takadhimi Tatadhimi Tadhimi Takatadhimi. Pranams.